I feel like I'm very humbled by this test, and I have been for over 10 years. It's my white whale.
Yeah, it certainly has that effect on people, myself included. It's a lot more than we bargained for.
Yeah. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thanks. I'm good. So I know you sent over some questions. Tell me what would be most useful for you to focus on today?
So I guess, and I'm going to go backwards here from the questions I sent you because it's been on my mind. Is just I have a 2-year-old. Okay, so I was just wondering how realistic it is for a parent to attend law school, like as far as what hours, it's just what to expect.
Yeah, well, it's certainly difficult, and I would recommend that you get everyone else in your family on board who's supporting you because it is a lot of work. It's a big time commitment. And just like the LSAT is a big time commitment, so is law school. So whatever you're doing now, you can use this opportunity now to figure out what your flow is going to be like in law school in terms of budgeting time and your schedule and getting support from your friends and family to help you make it a priority.
Right. I was wondering because there's a lot of talk about the different tiers of law school and the work that it entails. I mean, the end game is always, passing the bar in whatever state you're in. But how important is the tier of law school as far as employment later on?
It really depends on what you're looking to do. If you want to practice big law at a major white shoe law firm in a major city, then you want to go then you want to go to a top law school. But if your goals are different, it may not matter as much. So tell me, what are you looking to do?
So I've been in the game for a long time, as just as far as life. I'm old as dirt, okay? I'm almost 40.
That's
So
not that old.
I would love to just really do some type of contractual law, estate law, where I can be in a home office most of my work week because I do want to be a part of my child's life and really active, and I want to be at her sports events. I don't want to be, even though I have the gift of gab, I don't want to be a litigator. I will if I have to, and I've been known, but that's not the goal here is, to do something I'm passionate about, which is always has been a lawyer. And then, but also make room and money for the other thing I'm more passionate about, which is my family.
Mm-hmm. Sure. So if you're looking to find a better work-life balance than folks in big law typically do, then you may not need to go to a big name law school.
Okay.
But to bring it back to where we are right now, which is the LSAT is still before us, getting a higher LSAT score no matter what will open the doors to either getting into a better law school or getting more scholarship money, and potentially both.
Okay. Gotcha. As far as the studying goes, and I love your course, okay, because I'm very much a meticulous person. I need to have a structure, and I'll be all over the place. But your course really kind of puts things in, like logic games, then logical reasoning. Like, how comfortable should you be with the logic games before you move on to your next section? Because I know you have them set out like day one logic games untimed here, but I feel like if I haven't mastered, like right now I'm struggling with the in out games, and I've done almost 10 of them so far, and I'm just still like the timing is not coming. So I'm just wondering, like, when should I just move on to the next day?
Well, first of all, I'm glad you're enjoying the course. I'm glad that the structure is helping you because that really is the goal. I put a lot of thought into laying it out step by step, day by day, so that you know exactly what to do and what not to do. Now, when it comes to moving from games to logical reasoning to reading comprehension, of course, you're not always going to be at 100% accuracy within time constraints before moving on, but that's okay. You want to build a basic, reasonable level of familiarity with the different game types and the different question types before you move on to the next one. But of course, there's a balance to strike because you've got to cover everything before test day. And the LSAT is difficult enough that most people won't be at 100% on everything before test day. And that's all right. The idea is that you at least familiarize yourself and get reasonably comfortable with things. And even when you move on to logical reasoning, you'll still be cycling in games here and there. You're not leaving them behind altogether. So there still are chances to continue working on them as you progress into logical reasoning.
Okay. I have trouble with, I guess, the necessary and the sufficient questions. in the logical games capacity, not in the logical reasoning capacity. And I guess it's all, the same at the end. But what's the best way, I guess, to study the sufficient relationship, or I guess, the in-out rules?
Well, a lot of those grouping in-out games test conditionality. They
That's
have
right.
lots of conditional statements where you're looking to link things together to form long conditional chains and make inferences as a result of them. And so I'd focus on in-out games. And specifically, I have a list of 7 logic games that are extremely similar to each other. And I can send you that list. It's from an article titled 7 Logic Games That Repeated, because they were so similar in terms of lots of conditionals, same variables featured in multiple rules, which tells you you can link them together. And in some games, they have clear conditional indicators, others not so much. In some tougher games, they present it in a more confusing way. And so it requires a bit more work on your end to unravel. But that could be a great exercise for you to improve your understanding of that concept.
Okay. I when I first took the LSAT 10 years ago, okay, I was pretty green, and I took a Kaplan course. And I have to tell you, like, if anybody was where I started, and I started at like a 135 baseline, my score when I took the LSAT 3 months later was like a 143. I was devastated. Like, it rocked my world. I thought I was just so stupid. And so I just shut down. I gave up on it. And I was like, I'll just be in sales and be the super sales lady. And then now that I'm older, I'm like, it cannot be that hard. There's got to be a trick. Because, everybody taking this LSAT, everybody that are lawyers, I've met lawyers, they're not geniuses.
Definitely true.
They are not geniuses. Okay. So, and I don't care where you come from. I think there's got to be a trick. And that's where I'm at right now, is I'm going to hit it hard from every angle. And right now I'm using you as a resource. So that's where I'm at.
Awesome. Well, the LSAT is easy, and it's also not easy at the same time. I mean, it's got a certain degree of complexity to it, unmatched by no other graduate level exam under the sun that I've encountered, like the GRE, the GMAT, and then like the SAT and ACT. It's much more difficult, but at the same time, it can be conquered just the same. And they release nearly 100 old exams available to you. So you can study the old ones, and then there's nothing new you're going to see on test day if you just take the time to buckle down and focus on the ones already available to you.
Yeah, like last week I got a 147. Today I did a 151. And then like before the 147 I had a 153. So it's like and obviously some days, like the day I got a 147, it was like I finished at 11 p.m. because I have to wait for the baby to go down.
Sure.
To do these tests. I was sick. I was tired, but I was like, you're supposed to test under all conditions. So while I'm doing your timeline, I'm still doing practice tests, full length practice tests, because I'm impatient.
I hear you. Well, so fluctuations are normal, and they're certainly impacted by things like doing it at 11 p.m. at night. That's obviously going to have an impact. And luckily, test day isn't quite that late at night, depending on if you're a night person or not. But I imagine with a 2-year-old, there's only so much you need your sleep, right?
Yeah, I mean, and then with people like me that have ADD, okay, like you're going through the logic games and then all of a sudden you remember 50 things you have to do tomorrow. Have you heard anybody struggling with that?
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, you might look into getting accommodations. Like you could get extra time.
And I think that sounds awesome, but I feel like in my mind, maybe I just don't need it. Maybe I just need to study more.
Yeah, well, keep moving forward and see what it's like for you. But if you do need the extra time, like maybe double time's a bit too much, because then test day is like 6 hours. But if you go for time and a half instead, that might give you the extra time you need to fully complete the section and boost your score a bit. And you could play with it. You don't need to apply for them yet, but maybe do 1 or 2 practice tests with time and a half, giving yourself 53 minutes per section instead of 35, and just see, what is it like? Is it grueling for you to be doing it for that long? Or is your score boosted 5, 10 points maybe? That's a huge difference.
Does the school know you had accommodations?
They do not. LSAC did not want to allow that, but due to LSAC has been sued many, many times for accommodations related issues. But one of the outcomes of one of these lawsuits is that law schools will not know whether you received accommodations or not. There is no little black mark or asterisk on your score. It's like everybody else's.
Okay. I was also told like you can get like a fee waiver
Yeah, you can.
for the LSAC, like if you qualify for it. So I'm also going to look into that. But and I've seen like 2 of your YouTube, I guess, interviews before or sessions where you talked about how to get the accommodations. So I won't go into that. But I think that is really cool to share with people. I guess in my pride, I would like to just do it without it. But if it comes down to it and I take it and it's still not where I want it to be to get a scholarship, which is the goal, because I don't want to take on any more student loans. Especially being older. And I've been a banker for 15 years, okay? So I don't recommend it to anybody if you're older to take on that much more student loans. Like if you can, try to get your scholarship.
Well, with regard to the extra time, look at it this way. I mean, if you could get 5 or 10 points more on the LSAT with time and a half, and that score boost led to getting tens of thousands of dollars in scholarship money, or maybe giving you a full ride or a partial ride, that's a huge difference in terms of your career options upon graduating. You said you don't want to practice big law. You want to have that work-life balance. Going to law school for free could make a big difference in allowing you to achieve that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the fee waiver,
basically like a doctor's note, right?
Yeah, just a doctor's note, a simple evaluation. And if you have ADHD or ADD, then I would imagine you'd qualify.
Gotcha.
Now, with regard to the fee waiver, you basically provide some tax documentation to LSAC, and I would do it sooner rather than later, just like accommodations apply sooner rather than later because they take time. But the fee waiver gives you a couple LSAT administrations for free, and those are $200 a pop. So you could take the LSAT, I think it's 2 or 3 times, probably 2, for free. And they also give you one of their prep books, the Super Prep 2. And so that's nice to have. That saves you a couple $100.
Does it take, that's really good. I like that. Should you just go ahead and sign up for it twice? And just assume that your first score is going to be like, you're going to crap the bed?
Well, I wouldn't sign up for it twice off the bat. I do typically recommend retaking at least once because you never know. You could do better. And since law schools don't average multiple scores and rather they only take the highest, there's no downside to retaking except for extending your LSAT journey. So it's really up to you. And it also depends on where you are in the cycle. So let's say if you were taking it in November, you could retake in January and then still apply that cycle. But if someone who's watching and listening to this now, we're in the spring right now, then they're taking it in February, then also March or April. That's really late in the cycle. And so I wouldn't want you to delay your applications due to a retake.
Right.
And I also wouldn't take the LSAT first just to see how you'll do. Take it only when you feel ready and feel reasonably confident that you're going to do well.
Right. So it's still 5 years after you take it that it's good for in the LSAC, right?
Yeah, it's still good for 5 years.
What if you take it and then you don't want to apply to law school till like a year later?
Totally fine. It's within the 5 years. Okay? Yeah, so it's still good.
Will you still get like scholarships or whatever?
Yeah, it wouldn't make any difference at all, really.
Okay, because I see everybody like almost in a rush to like try to get right into law school. And I'm not quite sure, I'll be ready until she goes to school.
Yeah.
Like, which is like 4.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm trying to work it around that.
Yeah, that's still within the window.
Yeah, super helpful. Super helpful. No, all this is really good information. And then if I can sneak one more thing in.
Sure.
I know I emailed you the other day about like the infamous like used a new CD game. And I went back and I went over it like 5 times and it finally registered in my brain. and it was almost like, the angels saying hallelujah. But I really just had to sit there and do the game over and over. And that one question, I can't even remember which one it is right now, but it was just giving me such a hard time, and it just was not, I wasn't getting it. And I finally got it though. So I wanted to update you on that.
I'm glad to hear. I mean, that's one of the toughest logic games of all time, the CDs game. That's the one featured in Legally Blonde as well. It's put out there as an example of something that's virtually impossible, or at least seemingly virtually impossible. But of course, in practice, there's a method to solve it. And like for you, it's clicked. So that's awesome. I'm glad to hear it.
I just couldn't believe just the first rule escaped me. The very first one, where I was taking it as a conditional statement, and it was just a blanket. And I was just like, what?
Right. No, and that's intentional, of course. And I believe me that you are not the only person who's made that mistake. It is LSAT does nothing by accident. And so that is something that anyone could miss if all of the other rules are conditional.
Mm-hmm. I couldn't believe it. Every time you start to feel confident on this game, it's just like, just kidding.
They're very clever at those curveballs.
Well, is there anything else? Because I love picking your brain, but is there anything else, I guess, as far as just following your process?
No, I think you've got all the tools you need. Just I think, like I said at the beginning, block off time in your schedule and get support from other people to help you maintain that study time, because it's too easy, especially if you're working and you have a family and you have a small child. All of those other competing priorities can certainly get in the way, and then that delays your LSAT process more and more. And so if you could block off Fridays 12 to 4 or Saturdays 9 to 1, whatever it is, you block off that time, and that is LSAT time. Nothing else can get in the way.
Right. Okay. Well, I sincerely appreciate your time, and let's just hope I'll be one of your success stories one day and be sitting in my home office reviewing boring documents so that I can go to cheer and gymnastics with my daughter later, okay?
Awesome. Well, I have no doubt about it, Kelly. And if you need anything at all, please feel free to reach out.
Thank you so much, Steve. I hope you have a great day.
My pleasure. You too. Take care.
All right.
Thanks for tuning into the show. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already to be notified of new episodes as I release them. And feel free to reach out if you need anything at all as you move forward with your prep. I'm happy to help however I can. In the meantime, I'll wish you all the best and take care.